Hello, this is Cotton Soups and welcome back to another Loomian Legacy HTUC video. And in today's video we're going to be talking about Pyrolen, the newest vari evolution as of this recording, and in my opinion one of the most promising vari evolutions we've got so far. I mean, other than Venolin and Tundrolin, Pyrolen to me just seems like it's a really viable Loomian, and it can make a big splash in the metagame. So, without further ado, in this video I'll be telling you how to use and counter Pyrolen. So in order to know how to use Pyrolen, we must ask the question, what role does Pyrolen play? Well, thankfully its base stats actually help us answer that question pretty easily. One thing to know that it's never going to be taking a melee hit. I mean, it definitely can, it's just 63 melee offense is pretty low, so I wouldn't try switching Pyrolen on melee attackers all the time. 24 melee attack is obviously really low, and ranged defense is actually pretty decent because 79 ranged defense is not the lowest thing in the world, it's kind of in the middle of low and highs, so Pyrolen can try and switch in on some range attackers. However, its HP helps it a lot more because it can tank a lot of hits with this HP stat, and obviously any Loomian would want to have that HP stat. Come on guys, it's 119. And its energy stat is 91. Fun fact, you do not need any investment to get to 250 energy at level 50 battles, so obviously Pyrolen can be really strong and throw a lot of moves out. Its speed is not the best thing in the world because while it is in a very competitive speed tier, it's just that a lot of the Loomians in that speed tier are either running nimble or they're running max speed, so this isn't really great for Pyrolen. Some good range attack is actually really good on Pyrolen because 133 is one of the highest in the game. I'm pretty sure it's the third highest in the game, so yeah, that's pretty good for Pyrolen. So what does this mean for Pyrolen? Well, this means that Pyrolen is a really strong one-hitting wall breaker. It can deal a lot of damage in a battle, and depending on what you want to do, it can either weaken the wall so much that the wall is pretty much useless, or it can switch out and then try to do as much damage the next turn. So I would suggest using some pivots with Pyrolen. Its defenses aren't the worst, but they're definitely a lot worse than some other Loomians, so you're gonna need some extra support for Pyrolen. So what is the role that Pyrolen plays? Well, it's a wall breaker that you can use on your team and can break a lot of walls. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about the resistances and the weaknesses of Pyrolen so you know what you can switch in on and avoid. So thanks to Pyrolen's pure typing to fire, it's not going to be resisting a lot, but it's not going to be having a lot of weaknesses either, so that's pretty good. 3 weaknesses is only earth, air, and water, which is not really the best weaknesses to have, but it isn't the worst. Earth types like, or rather earth moves like Tyrex, Senimars, and Ferroglyph are all stuff that you have to watch out for, and air types like Zeppelin plus Snagoop and Stratosaur, so that's some things to worry about, and Barblast, Luminami, Cephalops are all common water types. While you do outspeed a bunch of them, I wouldn't try to 1v1 all of those guys because they do have super effective moves on you, and you probably don't have super effective moves on them as well. So I would try to avoid those Loomians as much as possible. However, it does have 5 resistances to plant, fire, bug, metal, and ice. Plant and bug and ice aren't really the most common things in the world. I mean, Harvesect and Swolder are good bug types that are pretty common. Ice types are not really common other than Tundrolin. And plant types, Malmurk and Totab I guess, are like the only common plant types. So obviously that doesn't leave you a lot of room. However, metal types like Tyrex, Valkyrie, Stratosaur, Munchwheel, whatever, are all common metal types for you to abuse, but I wouldn't really try switching in on them unless they are chipped, so that is one thing to take in account. So with that out of the way, I'll be talking about the sets on how to use Pyrolen. So this is in my opinion the standard wall breaking set for Pyrolen. Fending Flame or Quick Recovery, it doesn't really matter. Fending Flame does help your matchup against Stratosaur a lot more, and Quick Recovery is pretty good because, you know, Pyrolen and any other thing would want to get status with Poison or Paralyze. I mean, it's not as good as some other Loomians because, you know, you're immune to burn, and you are going to get rid of freezing pretty soon. So it's not really the best move to have, or rather the best ability to have. So you can either choose between Fanning Flame or Quick Recovery. The moves of choice is going to be Fire Breath, Mud Spatter, and Boom Bash. These three moves are essential because Mud Spatter is to hit Venolin and Bar Blast, and Boom Bash is to hit stuff like Kaoshinu. And Fire Breath, of course, is because it's your stab move. Rejuvenate / Stretch is going to be your last 4th move slot. Stretch isn't really as good as the other set I'll be talking about later. And Rejuvenate is kind of good because while you are a pure wall breaking set, Rejuvenate does help you have a lot more longevity in the longer stages of the battle. So with Rejuvenate, it can actually be pretty good with that. The personality of choice is going to be very smart, Frail Tender. Tender is basically so you can lower your melee defense so Protogon doesn't get a boost, and if you run Foolish, it will help less with your matchup against Stratosaur and other air types if you're running Fanning Flame, so I would run Frail Tender. Very Smart is pretty much the thing you have to run on this set. You can choose between Foolish or Tender, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really change that much, so that's my opinion. The item of choice will be Rageful, Plushie, or Flame Pearl. Flame Pearl is mainly for stuff like Stratosaur or other wall breakers, or not wall breakers, other walls, and Flame Pearl is actually pretty strong in this thing. However, you can run Rageful Plushie because it does have weaknesses to a lot of stuff in the game, and of course, Fanning Flame plus Rageful Plushie against Stratosaur is going to be a nightmare for the other opponents. You can run Power Cuffs, I just didn't put it on here because it's kind of hard to calc the energy for Power Cuff, Fire Breath, and other stuff that it has, so I wouldn't try risking it, but Power Cuffs is pretty good on Pyrolen, just to let you know. The TPs of choice will be 4 energy because those are leftovers. The range defense and the HP lets you live 3 hits from Bar Blast, well rather lets you live 2 hits and then the next hit you die, but it will let you have a pretty good matchup against Bar Blast if you're forced in that situation. And for Stratosaur, these invested bulk into the TPs will help you live a lot more air blades, or rather a lot more jet streams from Stratosaur, so that's great. 200 range attack is obviously pretty self-explanatory, and 128 speed is for outspeeding non-sluggish Stratosaurs, because because sluggish might be more common because Stratosaurs might run very clever. It's just that you have to be as safe as possible, and that's my view on it. However, you can run other personalities like Smart Nimble, very frail. While Smart Nimble isn't as hard hitting as the last set, you can definitely deal some damage and potentially sweep. This set is mainly focused on sweeping and stretch, the move that I talked about earlier. However, I wouldn't really use this set because it's not really as consistent as the other one. 192 speed is for outspeeding non-nimble Valkyries, which is a thing now, and the energy and HP are leftovers, and 200 range attack is for hitting as hard as possible. So overall, Pyrolen can hit pretty hard and it can outspeed some stuff. I just wouldn't recommend this second set over the first set, so that's one thing to consider. So, the next slides I'll be talking about will be the counters and offensive and defensive teammates for Pyrolen. Some good offensive answers, or rather defensive answers right now for Pyrolen is Nemare. Nemare is probably the best because it resists all of Pyrolen's attacks and it's pretty bulky and fast, so it does have the best answer for Pyrolen. However, there are 4 other options. Taoshinu and Sedimars is probably your best options because Taoshinu can tank a lot of hits from Pyrolen and Sedimars can hit it super effectively and it's pretty bulky as well. Venolin and Luminami are your last 2 answers if you do not want to use these 2. Venolin is mainly there because while it does get hit super effectively by Mud Spatter, it does provide utility with Barter, Poison, whatever, and it does get 4-hit KO'd by Mud Spatter, so that is a thing. Luminami probably one of the worst options because it's not running clever or very clever as of right now, that I'm pretty sure. So Luminami is not going to be as great as the others, but you can definitely try running it because you can run clever, robust, something like that, and you can get some things going with Flash and Freeze and pivots. However, there are offensive answers for Pyrolen. Stuff like Nemare, Snagoop, and Volkloa are all fast and super effective hitters against Pyrolen, mainly Nemare and Snagoop. While Snagoop isn't the best answer when compared to Nemare, Snagoop does resist some of Pyrolen's attacks and it can hit it super hard with Jetstream. However, Volkloa isn't the best out of these two. While it does be immune to Fire Breath, it does not resist Boom Bash, and it is super effectively hitted by Mud Spatter, so that is a thing to consider. Some offensive teammates to Pyrolen are obviously Valkyrie and Metatoad. Metatoad is mainly here because it can hit a lot of the defensive answers of Pyrolen super effective, but it isn't as consistent as Valkyrie because Metatoad gets hit super effective back. So most likely, if you're using a Metatoad against one of the defensive answers, then you're probably going to lose Metatoad in the process, which isn't really as great as Valkyrie. Because Valkyrie does have Rejuvenate and it does have better bulk and a better defensive typing against those defensive answers, so that is a thing. Some defensive teammates for Pyrolen are obviously Stratosaur, Taoshinu, and Malmurk. Stratosaur and Malmurk are here because they do resist the stuff that Pyrolen is weak to, because Malmurk is resisting water and earth, and Stratosaur does resist air and earth. Taoshinu does not do a lot in terms of resisting and helping out Pyrolen, but it does help out the overall team by providing teardown and bulk ups with stuff like that, so that is a thing to consider. So that is the end of the video. Like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're into that. Do note that I will be making more HTUCs and other Loomian Legacy content like this, so if you want more informational stuff, then like the video so you can get more of my stuff in your recommended, and subscribe so you can get notified on what stuff I upload. And of course, remember before clicking off this video that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.